Yes, yes, this is so normal. I see this so often, right? And like it makes sense that we would do this. The diet industry is like, no, these foods are bad, right? Like you can have all the chicken and, plain vegetables and crudité you want, but like sugar or fat, you really have to watch out, like limit it, or best case scenario, don't eat it at all, right? But what that creates for us is this like forbidden fruit syndrome. Yeah, where you feel like you can't have it. You're resisting it. You're telling yourself it's bad. You're telling yourself you can't have it and you just want it more, right? Yeah. So you get these like intense cravings for it, but you're like, no, no, no. And you're resisting it. But then when you finally do let yourself have it, you totally overeat it. And then worse, you tell yourself, see, there's evidence of the fact that I'm out of control around it. So now let me resist it more. It's just this endless loop. It's a really vicious cycle that you stay stuck in. But the thing that created it is the resistance to it, right? That forbidden fruit syndrome. And the antidote to that is the reverse of it. Is giving yourself full, unapologetic permission to have it. So, like, if sugar is your thing that you're like, I don't have control around it, you build control by giving yourself permission to eat it. So I would recommend that you put it on your plan every day. And the first day you put it on your plan, there's going to be like a little rebellious teenager inside of you that's like, we get the sugar, let's go nuts, right? And then you're going to check in and be like, hey, that didn't feel amazing, right? What if tomorrow I still give myself full permission to eat the sugar, but I have a little less? So I also get to feel good, right? So we get win-win. We get delicious sugar and we get to feel good in our body. And then the next day you give yourself permission to eat sugar. And the day after that, same thing. It's repeated exposure to that thing that takes the shine out of it. So this is called the habituation effect, right? Habituation is repeated exposure to something and it makes it so much less powerful, right? It's like we see this with leftovers. Have you ever made like a big pot of something and the first day you have it, it's so delicious and it's like perfect. And then the next day you have it and it's like, okay, well, it's still good, but we've had this experience before. And the third day you serve it for dinner, you're like, I never want to see this again. I hate this thing, even though it was so exciting the first night. This happens with lots of things in our lives where when they're new, or when, especially with food, when we told ourselves we can't have it, it's like such a big deal. And then we expose ourselves to it again and again and again. And it's just food after a certain point. Like it takes all the shine off it, it takes all the power out of it, and it gives you back the power to be able to be like, do I really want this thing or not? Maybe sometimes, yeah, but it's like no big deal. The way you do that is to stop resisting the thing, stop telling yourself you can't have the thing, and to start practicing having it, right? The more you repeat that exposure to the thing, the less power it has. And then you get the power and control back over it. And you unwrite like the story that your brain has written of like, I can't have it. I'm totally out of control around it. You rewire that story in your brain that's like, no, sugar is just sugar. I can totally have it and I can have it with control. It's that process of giving yourself permission to have it day after day. And yeah, you might overeat it a little bit at first, but very quickly, this habit reverses itself. And then you can just eat it with control when you want it. And sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. You get that balance back in your life.